Roll call.
Heffernan. Here. Moore.
Here.
Odom. Here. Simmons.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Whistler. Here. White. Here.
At this point, we would like to welcome all visitors. And if anyone has anything they'd like to say, now would be a good time.
Do you have any reminders about,
Technically, public comment in this
Oh, that's
one
right.
happens after the presentation.
That's right. We need approval of the agenda, number 3.
move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are now down to the 4-day week, 26-27 calendar presentation.
Yeah, so the change in this calendar from the survey example was just changing, there had been a Friday school day in May on the 7th. And instead of doing that, maintaining 4-day weeks through May and ending on the 27th rather than the 26th with the contractually required early out day. You'll notice that conference dates are blocked out, where as we make further steps curricularly, we want to make sure conferences line up at a time that best fits, and that's not a required element to be on a school's approved calendar. So we'll look to fill that in. I'll make sure I notify the board of those dates and give you a copy of it with those dates on it as we get it. And I would ask, and when we go into discussion, that we make an amendment to the snow makeup days as listed here. But other than that, this calendar delineates a 4-day week and what that might look like for us.
Any questions? Comments?
And then we can public comment after that.
Okay, yes. And so we are ready for the public comments on the 4-day week. Anyone would like to address the board? Hadn't been this quiet since the last time we went to church. Okay. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Now we're on to the next agenda, and we need to call that to order with a roll call.
Heffernan. Here. Moore.
Here.
Odom. Here. Simmons.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Whistler. Here. White. Here.
Now we're down to welcome visitors under public forum as usual.
Friend,
What's that?
public forum friend.
That's all right. Anything you want to talk about? Again, all quiet on the western front. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion? Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. Item 4, approve minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes have been approved. Old business, we do not have any. Under new business, we are ready for the student representatives.
The fun part. Come on down. You're welcome to scoot your chair up if you want to sit in the desk. Stand either way.
We're with the student council, and we just went to the Southeast District Conference, and we're hosting it next year, and we had some students present to other students about leading our student council and how we lead around the school.
And then we had state wrestling come up, and we know that Brian got 7th place.
And this week is FFA week, and we're having dress-up days, and students in FFA are making breakfast for the teachers, and today is the Ag Olympics for students.
And there's boys basketball playoff run.
Esports had a successful season.
And then there's jasmine competitions for middle school and high school.
Girls basketball also had a successful season.
Track practice started today.
And spring sports are starting soon.
And then we also have mock trial season. And then we have beach this Saturday.
Yep.
Yep, speech competition for individual speech. And that's all we have.
Any questions or comments?
You guys remember any of the dress up days for FFA week by any chance?
So today was FFA.
Flannel or FFA day. Tomorrow is like your favorite truck, and each brand is different colors. So you wear, I think it's red for Chevy, black for Dodge, and blue for Ford. Wednesday's pajama day.
Farmer's Day off, wear pajama day. Thursday is denim day, so wear denim, and then Friday is their FFA blue and gold colors.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Good job.
Good job.
Nice job.
Thank you too.
We are down to director reports. Who goes first?
Let's see, Aaron, you wanna go first?
Yeah, mine's pretty simple. We were working on this over the holidays. We worked on replacing the code base at the high school and the tech wing. That's the baseboard along the wall edges. We plan to replace at Howard over the summer. In the grand science room at Lakeview, we updated the storage by adding 5 more shelving units. She's been on to me for a while about storage. And then we're slowly working on getting equipment ready for the mowing season. You can never start too early on that.
Mike, you wanna go next?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot. We're wrapping up with winter sports. We're gonna have a little lull here in between spring stuff. I did see Indian Hills was having a bus driver training class. If you guys know anybody, I'd love to send somebody. We've had 2 people go through that in the past, and it's worked out great. March 11th, I believe it is, we have our annual night of fun that Aaron really enjoys coming to, and Jared even gets to come this year. Our annual stop training. Every bus driver in the state of Iowa has to attend that once a year. It's a Wednesday. Other than that, that's about business as normal.
Kate?
We have a new kitchen manager at the high school, Jen Clark. She's jumped right in. One of yours doing very well. Our second chance breakfasts at high school and middle school are doing well. We serve about 25 to 30 at the high school, about 20 to 25 at middle school. And that's not including the regular breakfast that we serve. The first week of March is National School Breakfast Week. We'll have some new meal items and do some promoting of that.
Cameron?
I want to follow up on the esports thing. We did have a really good season. We ended up 5-2, and then we lost our playoff game sadly, but we did really good. Played against New London. Just fixing stuff that's breaking right now, getting ready for ISAFs testing. We did the NAEP testing, that was good on the computers, and also ACTs this week, so a lot of computer testing.
Cameron would play this down, but the people who came to us, we had 2 people come to us for NAEP testing. And before we got started, the first thing they said is like, this is one of the most well-organized, smooth processes we've had in our schools. They're like, this will go down as an A+, and a lot of that was due to the troubleshooting and the preparation Cameron did on all the kids' computers beforehand. So he kind of downplays his abilities, but they're really good.
Thanks, Cameron, for taking care of that. You bet. Appreciate that. Jared?
Yeah, so as Mike kind of mentioned, we're getting that lull between winter and spring sports. So we have all of our activities coming up. We have a choir concert tomorrow, band concert Thursday. Friday at Indian Hills, we're hosting Quiz Bowl for the conference. And then next week, we have our high school play, checking in, next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then the following week after that is the middle school play. So a lot of those non-athletic things happen in the next few weeks. And we just finished robotics on Saturday. So.
Mr. President, if you're okay with having Julie be our fulcrum point again, I can have her do
Yes.
curriculum and then jump into her principal report
That's right.
if that works.
You'll just put it right there.
Thank you.
So I spent a lot of the time on the presentation that you are gonna see a little bit later on data, so I didn't write our actual report for you, but I just wanna shout out to Cameron and Aaron. We had Danielle Tice here again from Teach to Heal, and we had all K-8 staff in the Lakeview cafeteria, and they brought tables and chairs, so we didn't have to sit on the lunch tables for a whole day. So I know that's a lot of effort and time of that department from Aaron, and they were all set up for us, and then some people helped took down, so it was great. But Cameron also made sure that we had the right technology and had it split so we could have 2 screens. So behind the scene people making a huge difference so that we could have a really great day at PD, which we did have a great day because people were comfortable, and Danielle did a great job of getting that message. So that's really what we've been focused on a lot, is just trying to figure out the Teach to Heal and where we are in that journey, and so that's been exciting. And then the preschool is just moving along. We did put out our starting to get round up and get numbers for 3-year-old preschool, so if you know any 3 and 4-year-olds, have them give me a call. We'll get them set up.
Brian.
Yep, over here.
There you are.
Ready for me? Okay. So a lot of good things in the board report. One thing I would just highlight, if you haven't seen it, just to highlight that we had another successful book blast fundraiser. The book should be coming in, I think, later this week. So it takes a while to organize them. But one thing when I met with our rep afterwards, really nice thing about this quote-unquote fundraiser is it all pretty much goes to literacy books for kids. So this year, about close to 70% of people put in some type of contact information. So there's a lot of kids that came home with little trinkets and stuff, which is just to kind of get them excited about it. But the big thing is that there's over 1,800 books coming home to our students. And what's really nice about this one, why I don't really like to call it a fundraiser as much, even though it is that all that money goes directly to our kids in some way. So this last year, with the extra funding that we had, we bought like 3 class sets of books for kids that normally would come out of funding that we have to find somewhere else in the building. So that goes straight to kids. We bought some books for our vending machine, we bought some books for classroom sets, we bought some books for a family that had a fire. So when we bring this all in, it really does all go to literacy needs for the kids. So there will be a lot of books to unpack, but it's all a good thing. And the big exciting thing is when they unpack that every kid gets at least 1 book. And a lot of kids get more than 1 book. It's an exciting thing. So just want to highlight that. There's another good year of that. And in about a week or so, it'll be pretty exciting to send all those books home.
Carrie?
I just give a shout out to our staff. I'll tell you what, we have implemented literacy interventions at grades 6, 7, and 8, and 30 students are no longer in need of an additional layer of that support. But it's really our kids and our teachers who've just done all the work and done a great job with that. Science also has been very instrumental in that as an instructional coach. But I just couldn't say enough good things about how hard our kids have been working and how hard our teachers are working. It's a good group of people there.
I feel like I'm in a hole, so I'll stand up at least so you can see me. Just some specific things that are happening in the upcoming few weeks here at the high school. First of all, ACTs are going to be taken by juniors this Wednesday, and we offer that for free to all juniors. So we started that a couple years ago. It's been very successful, so they're working hard. Hopefully they'll have a lot of good scores from that. Our National Honor Society induction is scheduled for Thursday, March 19th, so we're working on inducting new members there. Don't forget about the career fair, March 27th. You're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be awesome. Over 90 entities come and share information with our kids. We got a couple programs coming up for kids. Cyber safety program going to be presented by our local police department, and then a Think Fast driving safely and responsible program as we get nearer to the prom season, so. Also, the top 5% of our senior class is gonna be recognized at the annual South Central Conference banquet, and that's in Sheraton on March 24th, so congratulations to those kids, and I'll tell you a little more about that at our next meeting. We'll have names and things for you. Just professional development wise, our teachers are doing a great job. We had a really productive day last Friday. I feel like we're working on research-based instructional practices in the classroom. We're working on some student engagement, and we're working on differentiation for students that might have different needs. So just upcoming, we like to have class meetings with every class between now and the end of the year to help them prepare for what comes next. We did have our senior parent-student meeting, fairly well attended, but just talked a lot about scholarship opportunities. That's in full swing right now. And FAFSA support along with our VU scholarship program. So we want to make sure we have all those seniors on pace to graduate, and I think we're in pretty good shape.
That it?
Yeah.
All right, any questions, comments? Well done, well done. We are down to item D, approve the 26-27 school calendar.
I would request, again, the amendment to the snow makeup days on the bottom left there, what I'd really love for the amendment to be from the board, and this obviously would be up to the board, would be for snow days to be made up on a Friday. And I can find a nice wording for that for us, because I do believe that in-person instruction becomes extra vital with this. But short of that, if the board is inclined to go that direction, at least to list the virtual days and the correct listing of dates that I changed on one version and not the version that I gave you apparently, so I apologize for that.
Does the Friday in October line up with homecoming?
Yes, yeah, that's kind of Pep Chapel Friday.
And so this would be, the last day of school would be May 22nd.
Correct, yeah.
Correct?
Yep, and by contract, it's an early out that day. Has a spring break, the week, I believe that's the week that ends in Good Friday, isn't that what it was, Julie? You always remember that better than me.
And how does this compare hours-wise, days-wise, for the 5 days?
It's kind of right in the middle of the years that I've been here on hours, so it's a little bit less than this year, but it's about the same as I think it was last year and the year before, so that's pretty close. It's still well above the state standard, and people ask about that a lot of times. That I did notice that was a question in the survey. A lot of people say, why do you do more hours than the state requires? And a big reason for that is if we have, like, say, if there was snow and we had to let out early, we don't get to make those hours up. So that's why everybody generally puts some cushion on. So we've had 5-day weeks with less hours than this. We've had 5-day weeks with more hours than this. There will probably be the way the calendar might fall on a given year. There might be 4-day weeks with more hours than this. There might be some with a few less than this.
I'm all about the 4-day. Even though I just spring break.
Fair enough.
Oh,
I did get some feedback that it's a little busy on the right-hand side. If the board would like me to look at if there's any way to clean that some, I can do that too, once we have a calendar picked. Just trying to make sure everybody has all the information there.
If I have something to say about the way I'm gonna vote, should I wait till we do the vote or should I say it now?
Well, actually, we don't have a motion yet, but technically.
Formally, you have a motion and a second,
Okay.
and then a discussion.
Okay, I just
So-
want to be able to make sure I got it
Yes,
in.
we don't want to.
Nope.
So by all all accounts technically a motion and a second would happen and then discussion from the table, but I mean, we've done things in weird orders on that before.
We've been a little flexible on that.
Yeah,
I would make a motion to adopt the proposed calendar with the understanding that makeup days would be for snow days on Fridays.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yes. Boy, I really thought that closing school lunches and taking away cell phones, so to speak, was tough. This is really hard.
we do the hard hitting things.
This is really hard. You know, it goes against, for lack of a better word, of everything all of us have ever known. It's the unknown. It's, my father-in-law always used to say, well, either it will or it won't. You know, how are you gonna know? You don't. So you take the information and then you make a decision, obviously. Before the survey went out, I really thought, no, this is not what's best for kids. And then we put out a survey and we found out that there was overwhelming support for the 40-week, and I can't ignore that. You know, people elected us, and that changed my whole way of thinking, even though I do go back and forth, you know. But this is not something I or any of us have taken lightly. I've lost sleep. I've talked to whoever will listen to me. You know, we've got to go for it one way or the other and see what happens.
Did want to mention, I wanted to thank a couple of the gals on our 4-day week committee, Sarah Lind and Ashley Long, who came today just to kind of be here as in a show of support that the committee met, and they're here to be with us, and I really appreciated that. What do we call it? Task force. I called it a committee, but we called it a task force, which sounds so much better anyway, right? And I appreciated the openness on that group. Like, we had some pretty deep conversation, I think, about, you know, strong feelings both directions on it, and I think that was really good. Honestly, I can't wait I don't really want anything controversial, but I can't wait for the next big thing to have a task force like that together to get to have good, deep conversations.
Wait till I'm off the board. My heart can't take it.
Quick question, what was the recommendation of the task force?
So we were, was it 4 out of 5, I think it was, in favor, 1 out of 5 opposed.
Okay, and how did you decide to present us with this calendar?
80% of our public asked for it and 80% of our committee asked for it. So I feel like my job in this, here's the beauty of this for me, I'm gonna work every day no matter what calendar we adopt, so it doesn't change anything in my life. So I am literally coming forward with what seems to be the will of the community, and bringing that to the board. And I do recommend 4-day week based on the will of the community there. And I think largely for the reasons we talked about, for maintaining enrollment, because I do frequently hear that as a motivating factor for open enrollment. And I believe this could be a draw, maybe for some families to come back, or at least to maintain families that are looking at that additional family time, which is just it's a generational change that I think is kind of tough for some of us. I'm a geriatric millennial, I think is what we've talked about at this board table before with other people, so that might not be in my wheelhouse, but it does seem like the younger millennials as a parent do kind of value that family time a little bit more, and just kind of a change of thinking that I'm working to kind of wrap my brain around better.
I share Carol's reservation as an educator. The more times I can touch my kids, the more comfortable I am. But as Carol said, I was not elected to do what I wanted, I was elected to represent. And an 80% overwhelmingly told me I have to represent.
You can't hardly get 80% of people get a chocolate ice cream cone. I think they don't, but.
In a perfect world, world, I'd like to see the littles go 5 days and the older kids go
Sure.
4 days.
Yeah,
You know,
I get it,
yeah.
yeah.
I have to, mirror what you both said. This is not something that I had considered for our school district before, but after listening to those who attended the Iowa School Board Association convention and the things that you learned there and shared back with the rest of us, also the investigation you've done with other communities that have done this, and how it has been a positive for them. And on top of it, the most important is the public's input as to what they want. I don't see this as a negative. I think it will be a positive. And I don't think that, there may be some things that they'll need to adjust to, but I don't see it as going to be a negative on our students. And my granddaughter told me tonight, Grandma, I want to stay home with Mom and Dad on Friday.
She must not be 14.
No.
Yeah,
She's 10.
I had a couple retired teachers from the district come in and talk to me a little bit today. And they were talking to me a little bit about the 4-day, and one of them, who lives close to me out where I am, really smart lady who I have a lot of respect for, said, Mark, it's a lot like this. You're gonna have a pie, and that's your hours. You got a pie, you can cut it 5 ways, or you can cut it 4 ways. However you cut it, you still have a pie. I'm like, wow, now you're talking my language. Food in it. I like that. And honestly, that was pretty profound. I hadn't really thought about it that way. Like the minutes are there, the hours are there still. It's just cut differently. Which that kind of put me at ease a little bit. Not completely, because I don't think I'll ever be at ease for any change in my life, because I'm a nervous Nelly, but that did help.
Any other thoughts, ideas? I think we're down to all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Got that? Motion has carried. We're down to item E, approve the 26-27 dropout prevention plan.
Okay, so this is, you may notice if you were at the meeting where we approved the 25-26 drop-off prevention plan that wasn't dated, that it looks super familiar. We turned in the one that, hey, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your work on the committee, ladies.
No problem.
They just have requested that they have years on it each year, so we'll just have to reapprove each year for the reports that we do. So I apologize for that, we misunderstood that, and this is just to clean it up, to put it in that report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 26-27 dropout prevention plan. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item F, approval of the activity fundraiser.
Jared, do you have anything you want to add about that?
Answer any questions anybody might have, but I don't have anything to add.
Just a golf tournament for the baseball team?
Yeah. They do it every year.
Motion to approve. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the activity fundraiser. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're going golfing. Approve the final payment for the high school addition and renovation project.
Hard to believe that the final payment lasts this long after getting possession. Ha ha ha, that worked for us. But that was so we could clean up some of those last things. And Aaron, I'd say it seems to me that those last things we were worried about seem to be cleaned up. I think we've tracked down the smell. That was one of our concerns. I think the words that I used with some different groups where we didn't pay $20 million to have high school. It smells like poop, we'll say. And I think we've got that tracked down pretty well now, that where that's taken care of, and there were some roof leaks that they had to spend some time and seem to have resolved now. So this is to finally end the paying to them.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final payment for the high school addition and renovation project. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. School performance profile and data review.
The wonderful Julie Mahalovich is taking the lead on this one.
Yes, she is.
Try to.
Okay, so you had some of this in your packet. We are just sharing some data with you because we have not done that as much this year, and since we have new members on the board, thought it would be a great time to do that. I'm gonna go over some of our regular data and then just the school performance profile, which is something that we'll talk a little bit more about. So first to start, we're just showing you some literacy data. This is our K-5 reading percent of students at or above benchmark. And I'm sorry, this says K-6, but it's actually just K-5 data. So I needed to switch that, I'm sorry. We used to include 6th grade, but we have changed that a little bit. So you can see that the data starts from 2008 or 2018, which would have been pre-COVID. And we're slowly making our way back up to those numbers. We did see a huge decrease after COVID, but we have stayed pretty level there where we are. So drips here and there, which you see across state all the time, depending on your kids and what's happening. But overall, similar things that we're seeing. So that is for fluency only. So how many words per minute students are reading accurately. A reading scores. A reading is a computer adaptive universal screening tool that we've been using for several years now. I shared with you last year's data and then the 2 data points that we currently have for this year. So a whole year of last year and then the fall and winter. We do this test 3 times per year. This test we do give 2nd through 12th, or through 11th grade, I'm sorry. And it measures reading ability, concepts of print, phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension. It's about a 30-minute test, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends on the kiddo. It does adapt, so if kids are answering more questions, it does challenge them and keeps them going, so we can definitely see what they know. Or if the opposite way, if they're not getting the questions, then it will kind of give us a level of those students.
So this chart, just so you know, and I feel like I don't want to slow you
No,
down too
you're
much,
good.
but make sure that we all, because there's a lot of numbers on this chart, right? So if you want to track a group of children, you can track them, I believe, using the color. No, not using the color. You have to kind of go through.
So like the ending spring score in 2nd grade is the black line. Then those same students would then be the pink line in 3rd grade of this year. So you can kind of see that they have jumped.
So it's a little,
yeah.
like just to track the cohort, because that kind of gives you some information there.
So I give you a whole year of data in grades, because we do look at grades, and then you can look at cohort data, which is what Mr. Taylor is talking about. And that would be the next grade level on the fall screening.
And this is how the state likes the data.
Yeah.
Because according to the state, every little child is just a number that doesn't have unique needs and wants and skills. So like this is what they demand from us. But if you really want to look at the system, I really think just thinking about it in a cohort model really kind of helps you to see what happens with that group.
Yeah, and that will be the case in all of this data, as it's giving you.
Yeah, it's got to be done the way the state likes it.
Yeah, different pieces of time. So there is a district score there. You can kind of see that it varies a little bit, but it's being pretty consistent within a few points of each other of that. So
I have a question before we go through the rest of it. Do all of these are, this includes the total population, special ed and regular ed
Everything,
kids?
yep,
Okay,
Yep.
because, all right, because we know that all
Yes.
districts don't have to report. those.
Yeah.
right.
And that's a
Okay.
big one. I think you've got a thing to that, don't you? So that's
We're gonna
good,
talk more about
yeah.
that.
Okay.
In the school performance profile, because that really hits into that.
Yeah, it
So
does.
yeah, no, this is all of our students, we screen all of our students except for all alternative assessment students, who have been determined that they don't take the assessment.
Which is a very, very small
Yeah,
number,
less
so
than
we're talking
1%.
like a couple of grade max.
Yep. So, yep, good question. We do see a dip a lot of times in winter. You see that across from last year and this year. It's pretty typical across the state, and then we'll usually see a spring jump back up in reading, especially. So it's something that we look at. This is just to help correlate. It kind of helps at different levels with the interventions that we're doing with students, and also helps us to just see like where kids are going. There is some correlation to how they do on ISAFs, but not always perfect. So just kind of another measure of that. The reason I enjoy this data is because we do it K or 2-11, so it's like the only piece of data that we have consistently across the district, besides ISAS, which then stops after so many times. So then we go into ISAS scores. So this is the state test that we give every spring. This year it starts April 13th. So I've given you the last 5 years of data here. So these again is third grade is all third grade students over the last 5 years. So if you wanted to cohort, you would have to do the same thing and skip to the next line that you would see.
I'll say ISAS always weirds me out because it looks jagged often
Yeah.
when you cohort it. And I don't know why that is, but it seems like the couple districts I've spent a lot of time in, that's what seems to happen often.
So again, kind of just different places, continuing to look at what we can do to improve those scores always. So that is ELA data. Now we're gonna look at math data, and I'd be happy if you have any questions to answer them as we go through, but also, I'm gonna go back to ELA data for just a second. On ISAS, the state does give us, like, the average state proficiency, our district proficiency, which is not on here, was 70%, 0.14. And the state average was 73%. So that's something that we always like to check ourselves with, is like how close are we to the state average, how, if we're above, below, and you see more of that on the state performance profile. But it just gives us a check of like, okay, we're pretty close to what the state's doing, so that's a positive, that we're not way below or way behind, or way above, which would be great. Things like that. Sorry, I forgot to turn the page for my notes. So again, in math, we give an A math score, grades 2 through 11 again. Same set of data last year's whole year, and then the last 2 points from this year. We do have a downwards trend as a district, so that is something that we have talked a lot about as administratively, what we're doing to improve those scores, and that is why at our last meeting when we approved our math consultant for the ADA, we increased that. She's done a lot of work this year. She's only here once a month. So we've asked for her twice a month for next year, just because we're doing some different math walkthroughs, we're doing some different intervention pieces to keep those scores from trending down and looking to trend up.
We're hearing some good feedback from teachers on some of these items too, that I think we're really looking at and need to continue to investigate.
As little people, we have always focused on reading, and with the new math law, we've had to focus a little bit more on math, which is a positive. It's definitely a good thing. So it's something that it's just we're having to do a little bit more of, so we're excited about that.
At what point do we consider the curriculum that we've adopted as being effective enough for?
I think that's the question right now that we're kind of working on with teachers, is whether or not it's a curriculum issue or not. And if it is a curriculum issue, is it the tool we're using to teach the illustrative math, or is it something else?
Because right now, the state is putting out what they're calling high quality materials, and it's IM is what they're putting out.
Yeah.
There's a few package options
That's
of
what I want.
what to deliver IM, but generally speaking, that is what the state has recommended, so that's why we went that way. There's a few districts that are going to a different type of curriculum, but it's still kind of the same thing, just packaged different.
But this has been a pretty frequent conversation between us and then at our administrative team. It's like, we're hearing from our teachers there are some specific holes in some of this that we wanna make sure we're addressing.
And they also have changed the math standards a little bit, especially at the high school level, so that's something that we continue to talk about as well, is what those standards changed. They didn't change as much K-8, there's some changes, but not as much. And they just were adopted last year, so, that's something that continues to happen too, like social studies just
And
got
when
adopted.
When I say curriculum, I was referring to the IM,
Yeah.
not necessarily the curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that we continue to talk about and look at, but,
So I wouldn't be surprised if, as we continue to develop with our teachers, if there is at some point where we come back and say, hey, this doesn't seem like it's cutting. Maybe it changes, maybe with the things that we're working on, it improves it, but, we don't feel like we can get where we need to get. That could be something we'd wanna bring back to the table and request to the board. Good news is a lot of it is, consumables, so it ends up being similar cost.
so then ISAC's math scores you can see as well, and across the grade levels here, and I gave you the 5 ones. The district percent proficient was 64.8%, and the state average is 70.93. So that can, you can kind of look across the grade levels here. Okay, any questions about math? It's definitely something that's on our radar that we're continuing to improve and look at. Science, the science ISACS test is the only test that we give in science, and it is only given in 5th, 8th, and 10th grade. So they do the bands of the curriculum that have happened, that's the standards that they're taught, that they're tested on, so, anything after 5th grade to 8th grade, so 6 through 8 is what 8th grade gets, and then 9, 10 for 10th grade, okay? So you can see the different levels of science there as well, and, the cohorts of kids would not necessarily correlate here, so just, don't try to do that on this graph. Okay, school performance profile. So this school performance profile is an online tool that the state has come up with. It came around in about 2013, and I think it has changed almost every year since then, a little bit. There was a big change a couple of years ago. The reason this is for Every Student Succeed Act, the ESSA Act, which is how we report to the federal government that Iowa is doing the right things. So then Centerville has to do that for the state. There are ratings for each building and our district, which is new this year. We've talked to those on the board before about the school performance profile, and it was per building. Well, now the district has a rating, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the district rating is. But the ratings are based on scores, and those scores, like I said, are kind of a moving target, it seems like always. But there are different levels here, and the second bullet point there is the exceptional, high-performing, commendable, acceptable, needs improvement, and priority. Those are what you can be rated, and it's all based on scoring. And when I say it's always a moving target, it's because depending on how many schools score what percentage is how we shift along the continuum of that. So one day, we could maybe even have the same score, and 2 years later, we might be a different rating because of how many schools have shifted into that bottom part. So they've changed how we report, and it also is always changing with the percentages and the amount of points. The bottom 5% of schools are considered the comprehensive schools, and they have some.
They happen to be the highest poverty school districts in the state as well. There was a report that was put out by the superintendent from Waterloo. He showed the poverty rankings of each school and the school performance profile rankings of each school, and it lines up almost on a 1-for-1 comparison. So just kind of interesting. So that there's a lot of pressure on those bottom 5% schools, but when you find out kind of what's going on there, there's a lot of really good teaching going on there too.
So this next slide that I have for you is the changes. So I'm going to show you in just a minute where you can go, and you can go on the site, you can look at anybody's school performance profile in the state. But there was some major changes after the 23 school year, so for 24-25 and and this year's 25-26. We went from this percent-based measure and a whole bunch of things that are no longer measured, like conditions for learning is no longer measured. post-secondary readiness. One of the reasons we started doing the ACT test at the high school is because that was part of our students' scores, or even if they took it, was part of our accountability measure, and now that went away. We're still offering ACT because we think it's good for our kids, but it was initially because of all these post-secondary readiness. So this bottom picture is now what we are scored upon, and it is based out of 100 points for each section. You can see that elementary and middle school have a little bit different point comparison compared to the high school. The high school, the post-secondary readiness is all about work-based learning. It's all about our IRCs and things like that. Our post-secondary one also includes all of our concurrent enrollment, and so when we go into the accountability website, you will be able to see some of that as well. This is where the scores that you've all talked about a little bit with, if you don't have 20 students in a population, then you don't have to report that out. So we currently do not have 20 ELL students, and so one of the measures on here is English language growth, and that is ELL students. So those points are then distributed differently than if a school had 20 students. So if a school doesn't have 20 IEP students, then they would not report in that manner as
So
well.
that's kind of what Carol was talking about.
Right, yep.
So if your school is small enough not to have the number of IEP students that, well, 20 to be specific, then you don't report on that subgroup.
Correct.
Within your testing.
And with even some schools that maybe wouldn't even have 20 in their 5th grade science, their elementary would not report science. So just thinking about that as we go back.
And that's really important for people, and I know I bring this up every time we talk about data, but I just think it's so important that people understand you can't compare one school to another school's scores when one school's reporting out every student and one doesn't have to. It's just not, yeah.
The only schools in our area that are consistently large enough to report out the special education subgroup are us, Albion, Davis County. I guess if you want to go as far over to Sheridan, Sheridan as well.
So our ELL points, that's an area that we don't have that number of students, and several districts around us don't either. So then they take those 100 points and they spread them out throughout the other things to weight them a little bit more too, which is then also different. So the slide that is on now is the district rating, which I said this is new this year. Each building has had a rating since 2013, but the district now has a rating, and our rating was acceptable, as you see. However, if you look right below that gray bar, it says rating category dropped, yes. So we actually made enough points that we should have been the next level up, which,
Commendable, I think.
yeah, commendable, I think you're right too. Commendable, which, the reason we are dropped is because of our special education students' test scores. Well, as we know, students who are in special education are there because they're below and need to have some extra support. So
The superintendent said a really great, I won't say we educated the director of the DE at the JPAA superintendent meeting with her, but we asked her, since we're a non-categorical special education state, so that means almost every other state in the US, to get an IEP and be in special education, you have to have a diagnosed or at least identified need specifically, like a mental handicap of some sort, or I think dyslexia qualifies in some places. Here, you have to be discrepant from your peers. So to be discrepant from your peers means that you don't test as high as your peers. If you test as high as your peers, you're then supposed to be exited from that IEP, which would mean you don't count as an IEP student when we do the testing, and therefore you don't count as a proficient IEP student in order to get a district on the good list for IEP students testing for it. You see how it's kind of like rolling catch-22 here? So.
And so categorical states are all around us, and there's more specific testing that does that and things. So at one point, Iowa had more of that, but we are
I
not
anticipate
that.
we're going there, by the way.
Yeah.
I think that's coming in the near future.
Yeah, so there's usually 13 categories that fall under IDEA, but more for that later. So you can see that we are dropped from our rating because of that. And so with that, I just clicked on the website, and this site is just iowaschoolperformance.gov. And then there's a little search box when you get to the landing page, and you can type in Centerville Schools, you can type in Albia schools, you can type in whatever school, you can type in Waterloo, whatever you wanna see, you can see. You can type in a specific building, or you can type in, the district that you wanna see, and then it'll take you to those things. So I just wanted you to be aware that you can go look, and if you wanna spend more time talking about this, I'd be happy to do that with you. But it just shows you, am I gonna be able to pull that one? This is a screenshot that I showed you earlier, 61% got us acceptable, and that is because we were dropped because of our students with disabilities. And so that is the overall rating. How they got to that, and you can see that the state average is 63%, 63.28. So we're not very far from where the state average is as a district. You can see lots of information about our subgroups, how many percent of this, that, and anything you want. There's all kinds of information on the site. I'm just going through this pretty quick today, just so you can have an idea where we got this information. You can see here, this is the one I like to look at because it gives you all kinds of information. So you can see assessment participation. The little tiny black, it actually is a diamond, is the state average. So our number is 98.49, and then the state average is 99.31. Okay? So science participation, we had 100% of our kids take the science test that were supposed to take the science test, where the state only had 99.2. So that participation is not something that, I mean, it's something we look at, but it's not.
It factors in.
It does. So the one that we like to show really great here is our attendance growth, which is why the department came and saw us. Because we are at 6.2 and the rest of the state was at 4.96. So we did grow quite a bit, a little more than they did. We still have a ways to go on chronic absenteeism, and I have a whole slide about chronic absenteeism, so we'll just keep going. You can see graduation rate, 4 and 5 year. The 5-year graduation rate is coming out. They're not gonna, right?
I think so.
Yeah, they're not going to, they're only gonna report out on 4-year graduation. So sometimes students take a 5th year to graduate, and that was counting, but they're doing that.
There was a lot of push on that too.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I hadn't heard the outcome of that one yet. That's disappointing that they decided.
Well, it's just not gonna count in our stuff. I think it can still happen.
I think there were some contradicted things with it though, and I don't know that it always helped us.
Yeah.
So then you can see the growth, where we are compared to the state, in math and ELA there. Then we go into the proficiency scores, which is the same district scores that I just shared with you. You can kind of see where we are compared to the state. And then this work-based learning, post-secondary readiness index work-based learning. So any of our work-based learning, and that's one of the reasons why we've been working so closely with the AEA and Amanda Brink, is because this is an area that we know we can do better in, and we are. So I'm excited to see where that score goes for the next year. This is all about coding with this. So everything on the backside of Infinite Campus, making sure that there's this 15 little blocks that you have to pick from, and the lower the number, or the higher the number, the better it is on this thing. So we're really working so that work-based learning is embedded in other classes, not just in the one that you learned about a couple weeks ago with Elizabeth Weinberg. Pacey Hawkins is doing some great things with her work-based learning, so lots of things. And then you can see that we are above average on the state with readiness for college credit. So that means 73% of our kids are getting the college credit that they're taking, where in that state it's only 70%. And if you want, like, hover over things, these little question marks, percent of students earning college credit while in high school. There's other like toggles in here. I mean, I could spend hours. I'm not going to, but there's lots and lots and lots of information on here. So you can dig in and see if you have any more questions about it. You can ask me too. That is the district view. Like I said, each building also has a view of that. And so here are some, I just gave you last year and this year, so everything's a year, so 24, 25. So you can see that the high school made some great improvements. We are targeted in every building with our students with IEPs. Then there's Howard that made some great growth as well. And then, in 23-24, Lakeview was not identified, but is now currently identified again with students with IEPs. And again, you can see we're not very far from the state average in that area. We've been on the list up until that point too, so. Lots of information, I know I'm throwing things at you, but I wanted to end on a really good note. Our attendance scores, chronic absenteeism, so from 22-23, when we kind of were like, holy cow, our absenteeism is out of control, to where we are now, and there's the district average and then the state average below. We're still above the state average and we know that, but look at some of these numbers, 42% to 14.5% at Lakeview. So that means like that's dropped that much. We want it to be a low number, right? Chronic absenteeism, we want it to be as low as possible. So 14% of our students at Lakeview are chronically absent, but it was almost half, 42% is almost half. You can see Howard's made theirs in half as well. The high school, we still have some work to do, but that is hard when they can come and go as they want. And then our district average is definitely went down. So the state average is continuing to drop, but if you look at our rates, we've dropped way faster than the state did. So that's a great thing to celebrate. That is a great investment that we have a person that Jason Reed is doing attendance and several other things at the high school, but really focuses on that, goes and makes calls, makes door knockings to get kids here, meeting with parents. We have plans, breaking some of those barriers that are hard for parents. So I continue to think that those numbers will continue to go down, so that's exciting.
He's done a phenomenal job building some relationships with some people that struggle to get to school too.
So if we can have kids in our classrooms and they're here learning, then that will be hopefully a positive impact on the rest of our data as well. So, and I would say we could definitely see in some test scores across ISAS especially that these numbers have helped with those scores.
And the 4-day week has shown to impact
the
absenteeism as well.
That's what they say.
That's
yeah.
what they say. We're hoping that works for us too.
I still say the end size is kind of small, so and I was gonna put this as one of my superintendent things at the end of the day, but my hope will be that it will be some of the data that people would say that support that.
So I just threw a lot of numbers at you, but we wanted to share with you where we are, what we are looking at, how we continue to improve and work through. Our building principals do a great job of always trying to improve what is happening in our classrooms with interventions, and universal instruction is a big focus of ours because that's where it starts. So we are always looking to improve, but if you have any questions or would like to ever look at data differently or with me more intent, I would definitely be open to that, so just let me know.
I saw one of the slides, Julie, where it was going over our show for the socioeconomic status for our district. It said 55% low socioeconomic status. How many, just a general number of students with IEPs do we have in our district?
That percentage is on there too.
It's like 15 or 16%, I think.
Actually, ironically, it's a little bit high for the state average.
Yeah.
For our size of school. I'll look it up while we're.
Okay, thank you. I was like, on that school performance profile, if you go to, there's like a different view that you can go to, and it will break it down to you of like scores by IEPs, free and reduced lunch, those categories as well.
So right now it's 13.7% with students with IEPs. Trying to figure out where I saw the state average on that, and it's not on this first page.
I can look and tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 13%. One time it was 11%, but it might be higher as a state one too.
That's an interesting subgroup to look at too. I mean, what we do find, which I'm really proud of our IEP teachers for, is our growth in our IEP students is usually really good. But the problem is when we're bringing in a student who's significantly discrepant, a lot of times when we're bringing them in at a young age, they're coming in significantly discrepant. So you can make a 1.5 year growth in a year and still be a chunk behind with that. So, but we're seeing our IEP teachers do a good job of getting growth for our students, particularly I would say at the younger grades.
Well, even at the, we just actually looked at a report that some middle school teachers, some of our highest growth in kids were some of our IEP students on A reading and A math. So, we were kind of like, wow, because, that's not something you always think about, but they were some of the highest growth. They're still not proficient or at benchmark, but they are making major gains.
I believe
Is that a combination of strat 1 and strat 2?
Yeah.
No, it would just be strat 1.
Well, if they're not alternate assessment.
Right, so strat 2 is mostly our alternative assessment students. So, yeah, this year.
So for small amount of strat 2.
Yep. So.
I believe we're gonna see some good growth in high school too. One thing I always like to brag to people in the area about what we have is that honors track. But the flip side of that is we have a co-op track that's happening in a lot of our core classes for students where I think Missy and Matt Kovakovich are both co-teaching in some classes for students with IEPs. And I happen to be married to a person who's in one of those rooms who will tell you having that other adult working with those kids that struggle in some of those areas has been really positive to see some good growth out of those kids.
Let's do this year.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a nice piece for us. So through some of that, I don't want to use that naughty word tracking, but through some of that, like building different supports for different needs there, I think we're gonna see some nice benefit.
Yeah, and there's all students are in those classes. It's good. We're doing good things and moving forward, so just take some time to see that data move a little bit. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
At this point, might be a little unusual, but I see about 7 or 8 people back here that really don't need to be here any longer. If you've got someplace that you would,
Directors, principals, feel free.
if you got someplace you'd like to be.
Unless you're excited about the
And I
taxes.
apologize, I didn't
Don't think
notice it
about it.
earlier. Okay?
Sorry,
I'll do better the next time, okay?
everybody look Cameron. Yeah.
Unless they,
I can make that.
yeah.
It's fine with that. It's kind of warm in there.
A little too much.
I'm jumping on it over here.
It doesn't impact. We are down to approve personnel business procedures. Nope.
Preliminary budget.
Oh, excuse me, I've got crossed off. Preliminary 26-27 budget discussions.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you just a very small update on where we are with the budget. First I'm gonna say, so you guys approved last time that our first proposed tax levy meeting is gonna be March 23rd. So, to do that, we have to send out a statement that goes into the newspaper, on our website for eternity, and it goes on our social media pages. That's this handout that you guys have there. So this is what is gonna go in the paper. I have to have this uploaded to the state by March 5th, and then the county auditor goes and pulls that information, and she mails out those, it doesn't look exactly like this, but it looks like this, the hearing statement. That goes out to all of the Centerville School District taxpayers and residents, and that's mailed out by March 15th. So that's why our meeting is on March 23rd, so that interested members of the public can come and talk about these two statements that go out. So if you wanna look at this one, this is the info that we'll be putting out there. It's kind of confusing to look at, but this first column here, where it says current year final property tax dollar levy FY26, that's our tax information for this school year. So listed out with the funds are the dollars that are levied for each of those funds. And then right below that, it says current year final property tax rate for FY26. So we're at 16 .69386. So what we are going to be proposing, and you can and it can be changed, it can be lowered at the final meeting in April if the board so chooses to do so. But what my preliminary estimations for the levy is in the far right column, which is at the bottom you'll see 16.68388, which is a decrease of 0.0009. But what gets confusing to people is the middle column. So the middle column, if you'll notice, the dollars levied are the exact same as FY26. Well, we're not gonna levy the same amount. We don't need the same amount of dollars as we do for FY26 because our needs change in FY27. So for instance, if you look at one of these categories, it says debt service. So this year, we needed $886,801 to make our debt payments. In the middle column, we're required to keep that the same, but we don't need that amount of money because our payments for the year are less than that. So what we're levying, what we are proposing to levy is in the far right column, $507,463. So if you're a taxpayer and you look at this statement, you can see how confusing that is because you're looking at the middle column and you're thinking.
Another confusing point is that middle column uses the valuations for fiscal year
Yes.
27 and the budget numbers for fiscal year 26. So it's a magical fairyland that doesn't exist.
Yeah, so if you look at this printout, it's just kind of the formula that they're using. So FY26 budget with FY27 valuations for that middle column.
There were some promises at the superintendent meetings with legislators this, right before the session, that they would do some work on this and make this not wrong. And it did not, nothing has happened with it. It does relate to money, so things with money could happen all the way until the last day of the session or beyond. So maybe something will still change with it, but as far as I can tell, I haven't seen anything yet.
But so anyway, so when we send out the statement, if the total dollar amount increases, not necessarily the property tax rate, because we're hoping to decrease that. If the dollars increase, we have to give a 300 character reason for that, which that's not, 300 characters isn't very much to explain exactly what you're doing. So people get upset because they think it's getting cut off, but so at the very bottom, we just are explaining. Well, I wanted to explain all of them, but I don't have enough room for that. So I picked the things that had the biggest change in money. So obviously we're on a budget guarantee again because of declining enrollment and low state supplementary SSA, which that's not been set in stone yet. So that's another thing.
We're darn close.
We're close, so we
still away from being
yeah. But so I said, obviously that was part of it. And then if you look at the management levy, so for this year, I only levied $309,975 because we had some fund balance from the previous year and I didn't want to levy more than I needed to. So obviously now that this FY27, we need to levy for what we need and increase in insurance, which we don't know. We have some estimations of that, but we actually don't know that yet. So that's the biggest difference in the amount of dollars that we're levying. So I tried to explain that there in the bottom. So that's what's going to go out, and that's going to be published in the newspaper on, I believe it is March 11th. If anybody has any questions, you can send them obviously to central office and we can try to explain these things.
A factor that will impact this after we send notice, that will impact the final rate, is if you've been paying attention to the SSA discussion, so there's a little pot of money that was set aside for property tax relief to reduce the amount that's levied for the 101% budget guarantee. Lisa reached out to John Parker at the Department of Management to try to get some more information on that. They don't really have an idea of what that's gonna look like yet, but that is part of the kind of, it sounds like, agreed upon package. So some amount of the 101% budget guarantee, which is all part of this levy number that we've got there, would likely be knocked off by that, so we would see some additional decline. This is what, our 4th year or 5th year of a declining rate, that would decline it even further for us, potentially.
So, yeah, I don't remember what that's gonna look like yet, so, but we just don't have that information. That'll be going out on March 11th, and then we'll have our meeting, and then last year, well, we've decided to do it a little different this year. We're gonna do our presentation, before public comment, so hopefully they'll get some more information. I'll have a PowerPoint and, a lot more information. But this is just the preliminary stuff. This is what's gonna go out. Another thing, I don't need you guys to approve it, but in that debt service, I have a small, not a small amount, I would say 255,000, I think of that, is we're able to do a surplus levy, which will pay our bonds off earlier, so, and still keep the rate
And what that's gonna do is it's gonna save our taxpayers interest money over the course of the life of those bonds.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanna, when those bonds are callable, we're able to pay off ahead, so that we save some of the amount we would have paid in interest. We did, was it debt service 2 years
We
ago?
did that,
We
yes,
a little bit.
last year, yep.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to do that again, so, if you guys are okay with me moving forward, I would get and you can always back out of that, but I just need to get the information from Allers, because there's paperwork that's involved with that, so, but yeah, we're just, trying to pay off, our debt early and still be able to stay within a good tax rate for our taxpayers.
Over the life of, I think, the big GO bond, I think we almost could knock a year off over the life of the extra debt service there and keep our rates pretty steady if things keep going the way they're going.
So that's where we're at right now, and, that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
So, at the public meeting, as I recall, last year, we really didn't say much.
Right.
But this year, we'll have a small presentation.
Right
Yes.
before that public comment,
Yeah. Because I think I did the presentation with you guys in the meeting before that, and then after again, I think we're gonna do it at that meeting.
At that meeting?
Yes,
Okay,
so that
sure,
they're getting the information, all of that information that you guys got.
sure.
And we have a good chance to have an audience to talk about our ways that we're trying to continue to lower the rate.
So, and then it's open for public comment.
Yes.
And as I recall, we were not allowed to respond to their comments, is that correct?
Generally, we have to be really careful. Responding is not recommended by Allers, the public comment, and they usually recommend that it probably be Lisa or I that would do the bulk of the responding. Otherwise, it starts to look like deliberation that's not on our agenda and would be a violation of the sunshine laws.
But I'm really hoping that the presentation can answer some of their questions
Right.
beforehand.
That seemed to be the issue last year, so
Yeah.
a short presentation. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when we have those public comments,
Yeah.
it's best if we stay quiet. Because it can be.
Are you looking at me?
No.
Yes.
I'm looking at him.
If it helps, if Brian didn't look at me, I'd probably talk too much.
No.
You want me to look at me or my best being here?
But it's just,
It was Josh.
we don't wanna get
I
ourselves
think
in
I'm
trouble.
kind of. Because you
Yeah,
do-
just lean back a little and I'll go right by you. It's,
Yeah, we're doing whatever we can to be transparent and try to help them to understand what's difficult to understand.
it was not as much fun last year as we really have. Simply because some people were pretty excited about their
Well,
tax.
and that was the intention. I mean, I shouldn't say that was the intention. That is the result of, and most school districts ran into that. That was the result of the notice that goes out looking the way that it does with the magical fairyland column. And I think that it says somewhere about like, hey, here's what a hearing is, about how you can talk about this with the people making the decision. So it really is kind of inflammatory intention.
And they do have a time limit. Is that 3 minutes or 5 minutes?
Three,
They
I
can-
think it was 3 minutes.
Yeah, and then, yeah,
Yeah,
we had to bring that up.
but we're gonna hold him to that this year.
Do you want me to bring it later?
Yeah, we'll do
And
something.
if you hear like a good question that comes up, you'll have discussion time to the item. So like if it's like, oh, well, you know, the rate's gone up every year, and you're like, dude, did you look at the presentation? It's gone down 5 years in a row. Like, maybe you don't wanna look at them and point at them when you say it, but you'll have a chance during the discussion to say, hey, you know, so I did see in that presentation, is it true that the rate's gone down for 5 years? It's the whole property tax thing is a big mess right now everywhere, so just, it's always fun.
It's very emotional for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? Now we're down to approve the personnel business procedures.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the personnel business procedures. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Superintendent's report.
I won't take super long. Definitely have my marching orders on what to work on the next few months, and I will make sure I get that. My intention is to make it so that all the trepidation that all of us have, when we look back on this a year later, we can say, okay, we did the right thing, and we're gonna feel good. And I've expressed that to my team, and we are ready to go to make it happen. Negotiations time will be coming up soon. Super excited. We've done great work with CEA already ahead of schedule. I really think there's a great team there and a good team environment with them and Lisa and I. So I think we've got a few board members on that team. I can't remember who else is on the team, but we can kind of, when we get closer, we can catch you up on the work we've been doing. But it's been pretty good stuff. Now I have to share the rough thing in the middle here. It's a little sandwich. We do still need to talk about a few cuts. And I've worked with Lisa, I've worked with our principals. I really think we're gonna be able to avoid a lot of pink slips here. We're gonna be able to not need a lot of pink slips here. There's a couple places where we may have to look at potentially doing some involuntary transferring if some things don't shake out the way that we need through this next couple of weeks. But I don't believe we're gonna need a lot of pink slips. And I'm really excited about that because I looked at the number we needed to start this year and what we cut already last year, and I thought, how in the world are we gonna pull this off? But we've got a running spreadsheet that we're going, and I don't think it's gonna be nearly as bad as people fear right now, which I'll admit probably comes from me saying, the sky is falling at board meetings. The sky is not falling, thank goodness, but it might like be nighttime for a little while. I don't know, that's not a good description for that, but I think we're gonna be okay. Speaking of that, hiring season is here, and we do have some of the positions that have become vacant that we do need to fill in order to provide good instruction for students. So I signed us up for 3 career fairs at UNI, Northwest Missouri State, and Wartburg was a new one that I saw this year, but that's really late in the year, so we'll see what that does for us. I'm gonna send out an email later in the week to our staff to encourage some of the positions that are open, people to consider internally whether they'd have interest in those roles, so that maybe we have some movement that creates a vacant spot that we don't need to backfill, and we can save additional there. So I tend to like to go to our staff and ask for them to have a chance to give some of that input that way. And last year we sent an email, I think we had 2 positions that we'd sent through that last year, so maybe something good develops out of that and they'll help us. But thank goodness it seems like it's moving along a little bit better than I had expected for us. And 2% is better than 1.75%, so that helps our 5-year forecast too. That's all I got. Sorry.
Any questions or comments?
Well, and that's another factor in the decision that we made about the calendar.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, if we're in a better position financially, that we won't have to do that.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
times get tough, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some good in there, and I've talked to other superintendents who, generally I've worked on the philosophy of not to count on savings. from a 4-day week, but I've had a few that have recently, in the last few years, do that. And even a couple of some pretty small schools who said, we actually saved like $100,000 on incidental things. I'm like, okay, I didn't think about those items, so there may be a little bit of meat on the bone for us there. I haven't been counting it in my numbers so that we're safe, so
Right.
we're never
Right.
unsolvent for the future.
Anything else? We're moving on to the last item. Mr. Moore, I understand you wanted to table item 7, or item 8?
I would like to table that, or yield all time to Lisa.
Okay?
The gentlewoman from Bolton.
We make a motion to take away the takeaways.
Any comment, Lisa?
No, no comment.
I think the bottom line there is, Lisa, is that that item 8 should not appear again.
Really? That's up to the board. That's a.
And we can't make a decision on that right now, so.
Okay.
I didn't just like it, but now
I think you don't have to vote necessarily.
I guess, real quick, I do have one takeaway, or one thing that
Yeah, no, we're not gonna post it. Here it is.
It's going off of your superintendent report. I guess.
Okay, you can comment on that.
Good.
Is, I think we need to look at, as a board, it kind of goes along with the open enrollment kind of matrix, is, what we're, as a district, sending students to Head Start.
Oh, sure.
We're giving away money
Okay.
by sending to Head Start.
So Head Start itself, and now I wish I would have kept Julie, because I'm gonna admit she knows
I'm
a
here.
little bit more about, okay, oh, gosh.
So,
I don't know
I know we can make
how much
discussion.
say we have on Head Start necessarily.
Those are families that choose to go to Head Start. We only provide transportation because they do not have that option. So we made it equitable for all kids to be able to have transportation a few years ago. They have 10 to 13 4-year-olds, and their 3-year-old program is full, but it's free. Where my
I did get,
But Kids World,
Yes,
that's
separate,
the
yeah.
contract we hold.
Yes.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Yes,
that,
sorry.
I misunderstood that.
So Head Start's
To me,
their
yeah.
funding.
To me, it's something I think we need to look at
We
in the
could
future.
put that
as a board,
conversation on
and
a board meeting if that is desired.
I think we throw a lot of money
I do know
from our district.
I did get that number in wavelengths or something here, it's about 50,000, I think. So,
I would like to see that, if
Yep.
possible.
I can get that done.
starting teacher.
There was a bill that proposed a change to that relationship that I believe did not pass through the funnel. So it essentially made those preschool partnerships more like vouchers, where it doesn't even go through the local school, it just goes directly to. I don't believe that passed through the funnel. So I'm still trying to figure out what got changed to be a division under this bill, so I haven't found that there yet, but yeah.
Good luck with anything in this.
Well, we've got another, week and a half, and then we'll know a little more, get to that second funnel and get it a little bit easier.
That was not a takeaway, that was a
No, that was a comment on.
comment on the superintendent.
Yes,
report.
yes. We're gonna let you have that. So,
How about if we make takeaways voluntary, and then if you have something positive to share, share it, and if you don't, or concern, because why say something just to be saying it?
there you go.
If you have something purposeful for the good of the group,
So you can just say, I'll pass.
or just, raise your hand
If you do, so opt in instead of opt out.
Yeah,
Opt in.
yeah,
There you go.
would that be okay? That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, is that all
I
right?
like fair.
I mean, there might be a meeting where you really wanna say something.
So you got the opportunity to opt in.
You paid it?
So, I'm at that point, would anyone like to opt in?
I'm not doing that. No, I'm just kidding. I tell you what, that vote on the calendar was.
But now we're gonna,
really
we are
hard.
going to make sure that we all look like geniuses, and that is our mission now, is to make us look like geniuses for the decisions we make.
And I wanted to say, that I'm just thinking of now. I was gonna write everything down, but then it was gonna be pages and pages, so I thought.
Respect.
But, you know, thank you for the work that you did on that, because not only was it a very, you know, readable presentation when I went through it, but you took the concerns one by one and addressed them. And, you know, you weren't just like, oh, I think this is good. No,
Sure,
you
yeah.
went out, you did the homework and presented it very effectively.
Thank you.
So thank you. Yeah.
I actually was impressed with your presentation and all that went into that, and conversations you had outside of our district. That made making the decision that much easier.
Thank you. I'm eager to see another conference school has a vote coming up in March. I'm eager to see what that looks like, so.
The survey was excellent.
It was.
The community was.
That was well thought out and very clear about what was going to happen.
Uh-oh. Mike's got something.
Mike's doing stuff.
And I, you know, I was really torn because of, you know, when I was elected, yes, I'm elected to represent the people that elect me, but also I feel like I was elected because I bring that background to the table. And that part of the background is just like, oh, hold on, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you know. Here we are, it's done, let's go.
Now we've got our marching orders
Yeah.
and now that we've got a direction to go, our job is to just make it awesome. And we're gonna do that.
That's right.
We're gonna make it awesome for kids, we're gonna make it awesome for staff, we're gonna make it awesome for our community, and that's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
Cause that's what we're trying to do with the whole district anyway, so.
We care about our kids.
We care about our kids, yes, yes. Yes.
And that's my chair, I'm
Oh,
sorry, I
okay.
just,
Yes,
I got it.
yes, but that is the case, so.
Anything else?
Nobody told
And
me.
I'm looking at you right now.
No. She's off the house.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.